Your kid has friends, so why do they still seem like they're lonely? It's a big thing that a lot of parents miss, and I'm gonna go into why. Because on paper, they look just fine. They are talking to their friends, they seem like they're all good, but underneath, it could be a completely different story. This video is about that gap. Why children can have friends but still feel completely alone. And how to tell if your child is being tolerated or they actually truly have friends. And most importantly, what to do about it before the feeling of I'm never wanted becomes their identity. When I was a kid, I thought I had my people. I would be hanging out with them, spending all my time with them, and it felt great in the moment. And I think from the outside, it probably looked like friendship, but from the inside, it was completely different. They were picking on me. I was a target of their jokes. I never really knew that it was bad until I really sat down and thought, hey, these people are not making me feel good. No one ever said to me just because they're there doesn't mean that they're good to have around you. So I did what a lot of kids do. I just got quieter. I stopped talking so much. I realized that I'm safer when I'm quieter, and my identity became someone that's not good with people. Because kids with weak belonging don't come back home and say, hey, I am struggling with this. They say, I'm fine, and they throw themselves into screens to be able to distract themselves from the moment, not actually face it. So that's why when you ask them, hey, what's going on? They say, hey, I'm doing good, I'm fine. And why kids stay so often is because any social proof whatsoever is enough for a kid in this stage. It doesn't matter if it was cruel, mixed, or mean, it's social proof that they have friends. They feel like that's the best they can get in that moment, so they just accept what they're dealing with. And the main reasons why they don't tell you is because of shame. If I admit my friends treat me badly, I'm admitting that nobody really wants me. And then secondly, it's fear. If I tell my parents, they're gonna step in, blow up the whole situation, and it's gonna become a nightmare. And then third, it's simply confusion. Sometimes the group might be great. Other times they might be horrible to them. It's a mix, and that's why it's so hard. An 18-year-old study showed that kids with no childhood friends growing up were 2.5 times more likely to have anxiety and severe depression. A 10-year follow-up study showed that having just one high-quality best friend at 15 was the most critical factor to be able to reduce their anxiety and their depression. It's having that one person they can talk to and feel like they belong. But what does actual belonging look like in practice? It looks like a friend that actually texts them to ask them how they're doing, that starts conversations with them, and conflict gets repaired. Yes, sometimes they disagree, but if there's ever an argument and the friend was in the wrong, he comes up and says he's sorry for it and he cares about your child's feelings. Here's an energy test that you can try out yourself. Whenever they come back home, do they feel drained after hanging out with their friend? Do they feel irritable? Are they happy? That is a very big sign. Do they ever tell you specific stories about one or two specific kids and they are happy talking about it and they have a lot of warmth about the situation? Or do they always refer to, I'm hanging out with the group, I'm hanging out with the boys, with no real person in it? Here's a great thought experiment. If something great or awful happened to your child today, who's the person they would go to, and is that a specific kid or not? If there's no clear answer, that is very important data that you should be noticing. Now let's get into how to tell if your child's actually wanted or they're just being tolerated. The biggest signs that they're just being tolerated is your child always frequently going to other kids, or they usually never coming to them. In groups, do they just hover at the edge and never enter the conversation and just laugh along with the group? Are they only seen with the group in structured settings? Is no one inviting them to anything outside of those structures? When plans fall through, do they look more relieved rather than bummed? And some signs of real inclusion is when a kid comes up to them and approaches them, anyone that texts them first or initiates the contact. In conversation, does your child take up space? Is there a back and forth between your child and the group or the friend? Do you notice your child being able to share an idea or tell a story without being interrupted and the group actually listens and responds? And this is so important because the data is clear. Any kid that is not socially getting out there at 7 is going to struggle with way more issues when they're 14 years old and they don't have those social skills. But the great news is it's not just one direction. It can be both. Once they have that belonging, everything gets so much better and improves drastically. So here's what you can do as a parent. A great thing to do is just open the door. Try not to interrogate them. It's way better to lead with curiosity and observation rather than questioning them. Say, hey, I noticed that when you came back from your friends, you seemed a little down. What was going on about that? You can say something like, sometimes groups work out really good and sometimes not so much. How is that group working out specifically for you? And the most important thing to say is, hey, I won't message anyone, I won't call the school, I won't do anything, I just want to know what's going on with you. Because a lot of times they don't want to share because they're scared of what your reaction will be. When they feel heard and you're able to just reflect, validate, and ask questions, that's when they open up the most. Now, step 2 is giving them language of what's happening. Help them separate themselves from how others are treating them. You can say things like, these are my people versus these are people I'm around. That joke felt good afterwards versus that joke made me feel bad. When kids can name the difference, they stop automatically blaming themselves. Step 3, aim for one better connection. Have your kids scan the room for one kid in the class that is quiet, to himself, then find one small step. Either if that's sending them a message, going up and asking them to play, anything that will start the interaction and push your kid to do it. The goal is just one great friend. Step 4, you want to build a doorway. Friendships are so much more easier when you have shared activities where you see them week by week. You can even just do a specific activity like a board game or an art project they can work together so they can collaborate and be able to come up with something without the conversation being a pressure on them. Because all you need to do is open the door for them so that they can go in themselves. When to involve the school. There's a consistent pattern of mockery, teasing that is getting worse and worse. Their mood is shifting a lot, they're not eating a lot, their appetite's horrible, they have horrible stomach aches. They start talking about themselves in negative ways that no one likes me, and I'm just a loser, or everyone hates me. Anything like this should be nipped in the bud. And when you do go to school, it should be about increasing the sense of belonging for your child. It's about asking the teacher, who is their allies? What are things that you notice? What's going on? So that you can figure out what is the right dynamic for them. You can ask the school about any structured opportunities they can join or exist that is in their same interest. What that version of me really needed in the past wasn't a lecture about putting myself out there. You needed one adult to say, the way these kids are treating you is not right and you deserve the best. And you shouldn't shrink to what you're getting because what they're doing to you is not right. Your child might be living that story right now. On the surface, it looks like they have friends, but deep down, they're just being in a group that will tolerate them just because that's all they have ever known. You don't have to fix the whole thing. You only have to do 2 things. Be able to see the patterns that you're noticing from your child and help them move towards one better friendship. You're pushing them to realize that the story that they keep telling themselves is not the reality that they need to live. I have resources for you down in the description below. I hope you have an amazing day, and thank you so much for watching.